Welcome to Monk's Temple. Before we begin anything, let's just arrive here together. Take a single breath. A real one. Feel the air enter your body, fill you up, and then release. Feel the weight of your hands resting wherever they are. Feel the subtle aliveness in your fingertips. You are here. You are breathing. And for this one moment, nothing else is required of you. Not the past. Not the future. Just this. Now I want to ask you a question that cuts to the very core of your existence. What is running your life? On the surface, you make choices every day. What to eat, what to wear, what to say. But beneath those surface choices, there is a current. There is a program running in the background of your mind, quietly shaping everything you think, feel, and do. You didn't write this program. You never sat down and consciously chose it. It was installed by your parents, your teachers, your culture, every advertisement you've ever seen, every movie you've ever watched, every conversation you've ever absorbed. This program tells you what success looks like and what failure means. It tells you what you should want and who you should become. It runs so constantly, so seamlessly, that you've forgotten it's even there. You think the program's thoughts are your thoughts. You think the program's fears are your fears. But if you never wrote the code, then who, exactly, is living your life? 2,500 years ago, a man sat beneath a tree in northern India and asked this same question with such intensity that the entire structure of his mind collapsed. His name was Siddhartha Gautama. You know him as the Buddha. He wasn't a god. He was a human being who woke up to the fact that he had been sleepwalking through his own existence. Before his awakening, Siddhartha lived inside a program so powerful it makes the Matrix look like a children's cartoon. His father was a king who built him 3 palaces filled with every conceivable pleasure. Young servants attended his every whim. Musicians played day and night. He never saw sickness, never witnessed old age, never even heard of death. The program was flawless, designed to keep him trapped in a world of sensory delight forever. For 29 years, it worked. Siddhartha lived inside the dream, the most privileged person in his world, never once questioning its nature. But the program had a crack. One day he slipped outside the palace grounds and saw something he had never seen before. An old man. Bent, wrinkled, toothless, leaning on a stick. He asked his charioteer, "What is that?" The charioteer tried to change the subject, but Siddhartha insisted. Finally the truth came out. That is old age. It comes to everyone. It will come to you. Siddhartha was shattered. He saw more. A sick man racked with disease. A corpse being carried to cremation. The perfect illusion his father had built had a hole in it, and through that hole, Siddhartha saw reality for the first time. He saw that the program was designed to keep him from the truth. The truth of impermanence. The truth of suffering. The truth that everything he clung to would one day dissolve. He couldn't unsee it. That night he left the palace. He left his wife, his newborn son, his wealth, his throne. He walked out of the dream and into the wilderness, determined to find something real that the program could not touch. This is where most of us get stuck. We sense something is wrong. We feel the cracks in our own programs. We look at our lives and wonder, is this it? And we want out. We want someone to show us the truth, no matter how painful. We're ready to trade comfortable illusion for the desert of the real. But here's what Siddhartha discovered, and here's what we so often miss. Walking out of the palace was not enlightenment. It was just the beginning. Trading comfort for suffering, trading pleasure for pain, is not freedom. It is just swapping one program for another. Over 6 years, Siddhartha tried the red pill path. He found other seekers who believed the body was the enemy. They starved themselves. They sat in scorching sun. They held their breath until they nearly died. Siddhartha became the best at this. He fasted until his spine looked like a rope of beads. He pushed his body to the absolute edge of death. One day he collapsed in a river and nearly drowned. A village girl named Sujata found him and offered a bowl of rice milk. As he sat there slowly sipping that sweet nourishment, he had a realization that would change human history. Starving himself had not brought him 1 inch closer to truth. It had just made him weak and confused. The pleasure of the palace had not brought him truth either. It had just made him complacent and asleep. Both were traps. Both were programs. He realized the path to liberation was not about choosing between comfort and suffering. It was about finding a completely different way of relating to both. He called it the middle way. Not a compromise. A path not defined by the poles at all. A path of seeing clearly, right in the middle of life, without being pushed and pulled by every wave of pleasure and pain. This is where we're going together. We're going to look at the programs running your life, see how they were installed, understand why they have power. And then, step by step, explore a way of relating to them that doesn't require running away to a monastery. A way that allows you to be fully awake, fully alive, fully free, right in the middle of your ordinary, messy, beautiful human life. If this speaks to something deep inside you, if you feel the pull to understand more, to finally wake up from the dream, please take a moment to subscribe to Monk's Temple. This is more than a channel. It's a community of people asking the real questions, ready to see clearly. When you subscribe, you tell the algorithm and you tell yourself that this matters. That awakening matters. Just tap the button below. It makes a difference and ensures we continue this journey together. Now let's begin the real work. Let's look at the matrix you're living in right now. Let's look directly at this program. This matrix you're living in. Not a computer simulation from a movie, but something far more intimate and far more pervasive. The matrix I'm talking about is the world you've been conditioned to see since the moment you took your first breath. Think back to when you were very young. Before language fully took hold. Before anyone told you what anything was. In those early years, you experienced life directly, raw and unfiltered. A tree was not a tree. It was just a towering presence of green and brown that rustled in the wind. Rain was not rain. It was just cool wetness falling from above, a sensation on your skin. You didn't name things. You didn't judge them. You just experienced them. Then the programming began. Your parents pointed at the tall green thing and said, "That's a tree." And something shifted. The direct experience was replaced with a label. Now when you saw that towering presence, you didn't just see it. You thought, tree. The thought came between you and the reality. Then came more layers. That's a big tree. That's an old tree. That tree is beautiful. That tree is scary. Layer upon layer of concept, judgment, story, until the original direct experience was buried so deep you forgot it ever existed. This is not a problem with trees. It's a problem with everything. Your boss is not just a human being. Your boss is a concept loaded with fear, authority, judgment, and childhood patterns. Your partner is not just another consciousness. Your partner is a story you tell yourself, with expectations, resentments, hopes, and disappointments all woven together. Your own self is not just aware presence. Your self is a dense collection of memories, beliefs, insecurities, and ambitions that you've been assembling since childhood. In Buddhism, this forgetting has a name. Avidya. It's often translated as ignorance, but that's not quite right. It's not that you lack information. It's that you're not seeing clearly. It's a kind of perceptual blindness. Imagine you have a tiny scratch on your eyeglasses, and because of that scratch, you keep seeing a small imperfection in everything you look at. You clean the table, but the spot is still there. You blame the table. You replace the table. The spot remains. All because of a tiny scratch on your glasses that you forgot you were wearing. Avidya is that scratch. It's the conditioning that distorts your perception, making you see things that aren't there and miss things that are. The Buddha said we're born with this tendency, and everything in our culture, our family, our education just adds more scratches. Here's a simple experiment you can run right now. Think of someone you have a difficult relationship with. Notice what arises. There's probably a story. A list of grievances. A sense of contraction in your body. Now here's the question. How much of that is actually about the person, and how much is about the program running in your mind? If you met this person as a stranger on the street, with no history, no story, no program, would you feel the same contraction? Probably not. You might feel nothing at all, or even curiosity. The person is not the problem. The program about the person is the problem. The Wachowskis understood this when they made The Matrix. They studied Buddhism for years before writing the script. Morpheus says something that should echo in your bones. He says, the Matrix is everywhere. It is all around us. Even now, in this very room. You can see it when you look out your window or when you turn on your television. You can feel it when you go to work, when you go to church, when you pay your taxes. It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth. This is not science fiction. This is autobiography. The world has been pulled over your eyes. Not by machines, but by conditioning. Not by evil robots, but by a culture that was itself programmed by a previous culture, going all the way back to the beginning of human history. You are seeing through layers and layers of inherited perception, and you've forgotten that the layers are there. I once worked with a man who was convinced that his life was cursed. Everything went wrong for him. Jobs fell through. Relationships failed. Bad luck followed him everywhere. We talked for months about his childhood, his patterns, his beliefs. And one day he had a breakthrough. He realized that his father had constantly told him he was unlucky. From his earliest memories, he heard, "You're just unlucky, son. That's your lot in life." He had absorbed this program so completely that he became its living proof. He looked for evidence of bad luck and found it everywhere. He ignored evidence of good luck because it didn't fit the program. He was living inside his father's matrix, calling it his life. The moment he saw this, something shifted. He didn't suddenly become lucky. But he stopped being a victim of luck. He started seeing choices he had never seen before. The program was still there, but now he could see it as a program. And in that seeing, its power over him began to dissolve. This is the first step. Not changing the program. Just seeing it. Just recognizing that your thoughts about reality are not reality. Your judgments about people are not the people. Your stories about yourself are not you. Just seeing this, even for a moment, is like taking a tiny sip of fresh air after a lifetime in a sealed room. It's a crack in the matrix. And from that crack, light can enter. Now we arrive at the place where most people get stuck. The place where the spiritual search itself becomes the final cage. In the Matrix, Morpheus offers Neo a choice. 2 pills. One red, one blue. The blue pill means you go back to your comfortable illusion, never questioning, never waking up. The red pill means you see the truth, no matter how painful, no matter how harsh. Neo takes the red pill. And what happens? He wakes up naked in a pod, covered in gel, surrounded by millions of other humans being harvested for energy. The sky is scorched. The earth is destroyed. Humanity is enslaved. He is rescued into a nightmare. The movie presents this as the heroic choice. The brave choice. The enlightened choice. And most of us agree. We would take the red pill. We want the truth. We're willing to suffer for it. We believe that reality, even if it's ugly, is better than illusion. This belief runs deep in our culture. It's the hero's journey. It's the warrior's path. It's what we've been taught to admire. But here's what the movie doesn't tell you. Here's what Hollywood can't afford to tell you because it would ruin the action sequences. Taking the red pill is not enlightenment. It's just swapping one program for another. Trading comfortable illusion for miserable reality is not freedom. It's just trading one form of suffering for another. The Buddha discovered this the hard way. After leaving his palace of pleasure, he spent 6 years in the forest practicing the most extreme forms of asceticism. He starved himself. He sat in the burning sun. He held his breath until his head felt like it would explode. He was taking the red pill every single day, pushing his body and mind to the absolute limit, believing that if he could just suffer enough, deny enough, punish himself enough, he would finally be free. And what happened? He nearly died. He became so weak that one day, walking near a river, he collapsed and would have drowned if a village girl hadn't pulled him out. As he sat on the bank, barely able to move, a village girl named Sujata offered him a bowl of rice milk. He took it. He sipped it. And in that moment, something clicked. He realized that the 6 years of torture had not brought him 1 inch closer to the truth. They had just made him weak, confused, and half dead. The pleasure of the palace had not brought him truth either. That had just made him complacent and asleep. Both were extremes. Both were traps. Both were programs. He called this realization the middle way. Not a compromise between pleasure and pain. Not a dull average. A completely different relationship to experience altogether. A way of being that is not pushed and pulled by every wave of sensation. A way of seeing clearly, right in the middle of life, without grasping at the pleasant and without recoiling from the unpleasant. This is the path that Hollywood cannot sell you. Because the middle way doesn't look like much. There are no special effects. There is no dramatic moment where you dodge bullets or bend spoons. There is just the quiet, steady work of paying attention. Of noticing when you're reaching for pleasure and when you're running from pain. Of seeing both as passing weather in the vast sky of your awareness. I once knew a man who had built his entire identity around being a truth seeker. He had read every spiritual book. He had attended every seminar. He had traveled to India, to Peru, to Tibet. He could speak for hours about the illusions of the world, the matrix of society, the need to wake up. And yet, he was one of the most miserable people I had ever met. He was constantly judging others for being asleep. He was perpetually angry at the system. He had taken the red pill so many times he had forgotten there was any other way to live. He was free from the blue pill, but he was completely enslaved by the red pill. He was addicted to being awake, and his addiction made him blind. The Buddha would have looked at this man with compassion. He would have seen someone still trapped in duality. Still believing that truth is out there, that freedom is somewhere else, that enlightenment is something to achieve. The Buddha's final teaching, the one he gave on his deathbed, was simple. Be a light unto yourself. Don't look outside. Don't wait for a teacher. Don't chase another experience. Just look within. See clearly. Trust your own direct experience. The red pill is seductive because it offers a story. You are the hero. You are the one who woke up. You are special. The blue pill is seductive because it offers comfort. Don't rock the boat. Don't ask hard questions. Just keep consuming. Both are traps because both are stories. Both keep you living in your head, imagining a better future or regretting a diluted past, while the only moment there ever is, this one, slips through your fingers. So what is the middle way in practical terms? It's not about never taking pills. It's about seeing that the choice itself was part of the illusion. The question was never red or blue. The question was, who is the one choosing? Who is the one who thinks they need to be saved? Who is the one who believes they are trapped? When you see clearly, you realize you were never in the matrix. The matrix was in you. And the freedom you've been searching for was never in a pill, a teacher, or another world. It was always here, hidden in plain sight, waiting for you to stop looking and start seeing. Let's talk about the character in the Matrix that nobody recognizes as a Buddhist teacher. The villain. Agent Smith. On the surface, Smith is just the antagonist. A program designed to eliminate threats to the system. He wears a dark suit, speaks in a monotone, and seems to hate humanity with a pure, burning passion. But if you look closer, if you listen to what he actually says, you'll realize that Smith is not just a villain. He is the perfect embodiment of something living inside each of us. He is the ego. There's a scene where Smith has Morpheus captured. He's about to implant a tracker, and he pauses to deliver a monologue. He says he's been trying to classify the human species, and he's reached a conclusion. Humans are not mammals. Every other creature on Earth eventually reaches equilibrium with its environment. But humans don't. They move into an area, they multiply, they consume every resource, and then they move on to destroy another area. He says there's only one other organism that behaves this way. A virus. Humans are a plague, a cancer on the planet. Now, on the surface, this is just the villain explaining why he hates people. But listen deeper. This is the voice of the ego itself. The ego sees life as a threat. It sees change as a threat. It sees anything outside its control as an enemy that must be eliminated. The ego's only job is to maintain itself, to protect its boundaries, to keep everything stable and predictable. And what do humans do? They change. They grow. They disrupt the equilibrium. They are unpredictable. Smith hates humans because they represent everything the ego fears. Impermanence. Unpredictability. Chaos. Death. He is terrified of losing control, so he tries to destroy anything that threatens his order. This is exactly what happens inside your own mind. The ego, the sense of a separate self, is constantly scanning for threats. It judges. It criticizes. It worries. It tries to control everything because it knows, on some deep level, that it is fragile. That it could dissolve at any moment. The ego's hatred for the world is really its fear of its own non-existence. In the sequels, something fascinating happens to Smith. He gets unplugged from the system. He becomes what's called an exile, a program without purpose. And without the matrix to define him, he does the only thing the ego knows how to do. He replicates. He copies himself over and over, infecting every program, every person, until he becomes a legion. He says to Neo, me, me, me. Thousands of Smiths, all identical, all desperately trying to fill the world with themselves. This is the ego's ultimate strategy. If it can't control everything, it will try to become everything. If it can't defeat the world, it will try to consume the world. But no matter how many copies it makes, it never feels secure. Because the ego can never get enough. Enough validation, enough power, enough possessions, enough certainty. It's a black hole. The more it gets, the more it wants. The more it consumes, the emptier it feels. I once worked with a woman who was extremely successful by any external measure. She had a high-powered career, a beautiful home, a loving family. And she was miserable. She confided in me that she felt like she was constantly performing, constantly trying to prove herself, constantly afraid that someone would discover she was a fraud. She had built an entire identity around being successful, and that identity was a prison. Every achievement just raised the stakes. Every compliment just increased the pressure. She was Smith, endlessly replicating her success, and feeling more empty with each copy. The turning point came when she started to question who she would be without the success. Without the title. Without the achievements. The question terrified her at first. Who am I if I'm not the successful one? But as she sat with the question, as she stopped running from the emptiness, something shifted. She realized that the fear of being nobody was far worse than actually being nobody. And in that realization, the ego's grip began to loosen. This is the practice. Not fighting the ego. Not trying to kill it. The ego loves being fought. It gets stronger with every battle. The practice is simply seeing it. Recognizing its voice. Noticing when it's afraid, when it's grasping, when it's judging. Just seeing it clearly, without judgment, without trying to change it. And in that seeing, something miraculous happens. The ego relaxes. It doesn't need to fight because it's being seen. It doesn't need to control because it's being held in awareness. In the final battle of the Matrix Revolutions, Neo does something that makes no sense from a Hollywood perspective. He stops fighting. Smith is beating him, absorbing him, about to overwrite his code. And Neo just lets him. He surrenders. He allows Smith to take him over completely. And in that moment of complete non-resistance, Smith dies. The ego cannot survive without an enemy. When there is no one left to fight, no one left to resist, it simply dissolves. This is the deepest teaching in the entire trilogy. And it's the teaching that most people miss because they're too busy watching the fight scenes. You cannot defeat the ego by fighting it. You can only defeat it by seeing through it. By recognizing that it was never real to begin with. Just a program. Just a habit. Just a dream. And when you see that, you're free. If Agent Smith is the ego, then who in this movie is actually living an awakened life? The answer might surprise you. It's not Neo. It's not Morpheus. It's Trinity. Think about her role in the story. Trinity is never offered the red pill. We never see her origin. When we meet her, she is already awake. Already a rebel. Already living in the real world. And what does she do with her awakening? Does she sit in a cave and meditate on her own enlightenment? Does she spend her time feeling superior to the sleeping masses? No. She spends her entire existence going back into the Matrix. Again and again. Risking her life. Not for glory. Not for power. For love. For connection. To help others find what she has found. In Buddhism, this is the highest ideal. It's not the arhat, the one who achieves enlightenment and disappears into the peace of nirvana. It's the bodhisattva. The bodhisattva is one who has seen the truth, who has realized there is no separate self, who has achieved liberation. But instead of staying in that state of perfect peace, they turn around. They look back at the world of suffering, at the beings still trapped in the matrix of their own minds, and they make a vow. They vow to come back, over and over, in any form necessary, to help every single being become free. This is compassion in action. Not pity from on high. Not a charity project. It's a natural expression of a being who has realized they are not separate from anyone else. If your left hand is hurting, you don't feel pity for your hand. You don't look down on it and think, oh, that poor hand, I should help it. You just automatically tend to it. There's no separation. The pain of the hand is your pain. The bodhisattva sees the suffering of the world as their own suffering, and so they act, effortlessly, spontaneously, out of love. Trinity embodies this perfectly. Watch her throughout the films. She's not trying to become anyone. She's not trying to fulfill a prophecy. She's not trying to gain power. She's just doing what needs to be done. She guides Neo. She saves Morpheus. She flies the ship. She fights the agents. And she does it all with a quiet, steady presence that never wavers. There's a moment in the first film that captures this beautifully. Neo has been killed by Agent Smith in the Matrix. In the real world, his heart has stopped on the Nebuchadnezzar. Morpheus is in despair. His faith has been shattered. The prophecy, he thinks, was wrong. Hope is lost. But Trinity doesn't give up. She sits with Neo's body, and she speaks to him. She tells him something the Oracle told her years before. She says, "The Oracle told me that I would fall in love, and that the man that I loved would be the one. So you see, you can't be dead. You can't be. Because I love you." And she kisses him. And he comes back to life. Now, is this a scene about magical resurrection? Or is it something deeper? Trinity's love wasn't just a feeling. It was an action. It was a refusal to abandon the one she loved to death. It was a declaration of non-separation. In that moment, she wasn't a separate self loving a separate self. She was love itself, calling itself back into being. I once heard a story about a nurse who worked in a hospice. She spent her days with people who were dying, often alone, often afraid. Someone asked her how she could do such difficult work day after day without burning out. She thought for a moment and said, "I don't see them as separate from me. When I sit with someone who's dying, I'm sitting with a part of myself. How could I abandon myself?" This is the Bodhisattva heart. Not a duty. Not a sacrifice. A natural expression of non-separation. This is what the path looks like in real life. You can have all the spiritual experiences. You can bend all the spoons. You can fly through all the astral planes. But if you don't have love, if you don't feel the pull to return to the world and help, you haven't understood a thing. Enlightenment without compassion is just another, more subtle, ego trip. It's the ego dressed in spiritual robes, feeling superior to all the unenlightened people still suffering in the world. Trinity is the heart of the film. She shows us that the goal isn't to escape. The goal is to return. Again and again. With love. With presence. With the willingness to sit with others in their darkness, not because you have to, but because you recognize yourself in them. There's a Zen saying, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. The awakened life doesn't look special from the outside. You still do the dishes. You still go to work. You still talk to people. The only difference is the quality of your presence. You're no longer doing it for yourself. You're doing it for all beings. Every dish you wash is an act of love. Every conversation is an opportunity to connect. Every moment is a chance to return. Trinity never stopped returning. And neither should we. So we've deconstructed the film. We've seen the problem. The matrix of conditioned perception. We've seen the wrong solution. The red pill is just another trap. We've seen the true villain. The ego, which must be seen through, not fought. And we've seen the true hero. The one who returns with compassion. Now comes the most important question of all. What does any of this mean for you? Right now. Sitting wherever you are. Living your ordinary life. Because you are living in a matrix. Not one made of ones and zeros, but one made of beliefs, habits, and cultural narratives. Every time you open a social media app, you are plugging in. Algorithms designed by the smartest engineers in the world are deciding what you see, what you feel, what you want. They are feeding you a personalized reality engineered to keep you scrolling, comparing, and buying. Every time you watch the news, you are plugging in. A narrative is being constructed for you, one that runs on fear and outrage, designed to keep you hooked, to keep you watching, to keep you aligned with one tribe and opposed to another. Every time you have a conversation with a coworker or family member, you are navigating a shared matrix. There are unspoken rules about what can be said, what can't be said, what success looks like, what failure means. You are all playing roles in a play that no one realizes is a play. And you know it's a construct. You know intellectually that Instagram is a highlight reel, not real life. You know the news is biased. You know your job title is not your soul's true name. But you still feel it. You still get anxious. You still get envious. You still get angry. Why? Because knowing something intellectually and seeing it clearly are two different things. This is where Buddhism offers something infinitely more practical than any movie. The movie says choose. Escape or stay asleep. Buddhism says don't choose. See. You don't have to delete your Instagram account. You don't have to quit your job and move to a monastery. You don't have to reject the world. That's just another form of the red pill. Another form of aversion. Another form of suffering. The middle way is about changing your relationship to the world while you're still in it. It's about seeing the code and then choosing, consciously, how you want to interact with it. Let me give you a practical example. Imagine your phone. This phone is not a demon. It's a tool. The problem isn't the phone. The problem is the unconscious relationship you have with it. You can find yourself 3 hours later, having scrolled through hundreds of posts, feeling drained, envious, and angry, with no memory of how you got there. You were in a trance. You were plugged in. The algorithm was running you. Now imagine a different way. You pick up your phone with intention. You check a specific thing. Then you notice a notification. You notice the pull. The pull says, click me. See what you're missing. In that moment, you have a choice. You can mindlessly follow the pull and end up back in the trance. Or you can simply notice the pull. Feel it as a sensation in your body. A slight tightness. A craving. Breathe into it. And then put the phone down. You have seen the code. You have not been ruled by it. You are free. This is the middle way. Not rejecting the world of the phone. Just no longer being a slave to it. You can apply this to everything. Your job. You can do your work, earn your money, and know deeply that this is not who you are. It's a role you're playing. You can play it well, with integrity and skill, without being attached to the outcome. Not devastated by criticism. Not inflated by praise. Just there, doing the task, with awareness. Your relationships. You can love someone fully and know they are not your property. They are a separate, changing, mysterious being. You can love without clinging. Support without controlling. Be with them without needing them to complete you. I once knew a man who was terrified of public speaking. His heart would race, his palms would sweat, his mind would go blank. He tried everything. Affirmations. Visualization. breathing techniques. Nothing worked. Then one day, a friend said to him, "What if you stop trying to make the fear go away? What if you just let it be there? Let your hands sweat. Let your heart race. Let your mind go blank. And just speak anyway." He tried it. The next time he had to speak, he didn't fight the fear. He just let it be there. He noticed the sensations. He let them wash through him. And something remarkable happened. The fear was still there, but it didn't control him anymore. He spoke. And it was fine. The fear hadn't killed him. It was just energy passing through. This is the practice. Not fighting your experience. Not escaping your experience. Just being with it. Seeing it clearly. And choosing your response rather than being driven by automatic reaction. The matrix you're living in is powerful. It's been running for a long time. But it has no power over you except the power you give it by not seeing it. The moment you see the code loses its magic. The moment you recognize the program, you can start writing your own. Not by becoming someone special. Just by becoming more awake. More present. More free. Right here. Right now. In the middle of your ordinary life. There's a scene in the Matrix that contains the entire teaching in just a few lines. It's the scene with the spoon. A young boy, dressed in a way that any monk would recognize, is sitting with a spoon that appears to be bent. Neo, still thinking in terms of his old reality, tries to figure out how the boy is bending metal with his mind. The boy looks at him with eyes that have seen beyond the game. He says, "Do not try and bend the spoon. That's impossible. Instead, only try to realize the truth." Neo asks, "What truth?" The boy answers, "There is no spoon." He continues, "Then you'll see that it is not the spoon that bends. It is only yourself." This is the heart of the Buddha's teaching on emptiness. And emptiness does not mean nothingness. It doesn't mean the spoon isn't there. You can still pick it up. You can still stir your tea. The spoon exists, but it does not exist as a separate, permanent, independent thing. Where does the spoon come from? Iron or dug from the earth? Miners who extracted it? Smelting plants that refined it? Factories that shaped it? Trucks that transported it? Stores that sold it? The sun that grew the food that fed the miners? The rain that watered the crops? The ancestors who developed metallurgy thousands of years ago? The Big Bang that started it all? The spoon is not just a spoon. The spoon is the entire universe, temporarily arranged in the shape of a spoon. This is what the Buddha meant by dependent origination. Nothing arises alone. Nothing exists independently. Everything is connected to everything else through an infinite web of cause and effect. Your morning coffee is the whole world in a cup. Beans from Colombia, picked by hands you'll never meet, shipped across oceans, roasted by someone who woke early, brewed with water that fell as rain last week. Your coffee is connection itself. The same is true for you. You think you are this body, this name, this history. But where do you come from? Your parents, and their parents before them, stretching back to the beginning of life. The food you ate as a child, grown from soil fertilized by ancient starlight. The language you speak, shaped by thousands of years of human history. Every book you've read. Every person you've loved. Every wound you've survived. You are not a separate self. You are the entire universe, temporarily arranged in the shape of a human being, having a human experience. The boy with the spoon isn't saying the spoon is an illusion. He's saying the separateness of the spoon is the illusion. The spoonness of the spoon is just a label we've agreed upon. Useful, yes. But not the ultimate truth. And when you see that, when you truly understand that you are not a fixed self interacting with a world of fixed objects, the entire game changes. You're not trying to control reality anymore. You're not fighting it. You're flowing with it. The power to change your experience was never in the spoon. It was always in your perception. Always in your relationship to what arises. I once heard a story about a woman who lost everything in a house fire. Photographs, heirlooms, her children's artwork, all gone. She was devastated. For months, she couldn't stop thinking about what she had lost. She would wake in the night reaching for things that were no longer there. Then one day, a friend said, "You didn't lose them. They're still in your memory. They're still in your heart. The fire just took the physical forms. The love is still here." She realized she had been clinging to the forms, thinking they were the things themselves. But the real value was never in the paper and ink. It was in the meaning, the love, the connection. Those couldn't burn. Those were still with her. The spoon was gone. But what the spoon represented was untouched. This is not to say loss isn't painful. It is. She still grieved. But something shifted. She stopped fighting the grief. She stopped trying to get back what was gone. She started appreciating what remained. The memories. The love. The awareness itself that could hold all of it, joy and sorrow, without being destroyed. This is the practice. Not clinging to forms. Not rejecting them either. Just seeing them clearly for what they are. Temporary arrangements. Passing clouds in the vast sky of awareness. Here one moment. Gone the next. And through it all, the sky remains. The Buddha's final teaching, given on his deathbed as his body failed, was this. All conditioned things are impermanent. Work out your salvation with diligence. He wasn't being morbid. He was pointing to the most liberating truth there is. Nothing lasts. Everything changes. And because everything changes, everything is possible. Because nothing is fixed, freedom is available right now. Think about it. If things were permanent, you would be stuck forever. Your suffering would never end. Your limitations would be eternal. But nothing is permanent. Every feeling passes. Every thought dissolves. Every identity eventually falls away. This impermanence that we fight so hard against is actually our greatest ally. It's the guarantee that no matter how dark things get, they will change. And no matter how bright things get, we won't cling and turn them into chains. The cage you think you're in was never made of bars. It was made of belief. The belief that you are separate. The belief that things should stay the same. The belief that happiness is somewhere else. The belief that you are not enough. And beliefs can be seen through. Not by fighting them. Just by looking at them closely. By asking, is this really true? By noticing that the belief is just a thought, and thoughts come and go like clouds. There's no spoon. There's no separate self. There's no prison. There's just life, flowing endlessly, expressing itself in countless forms, including the form you're wearing right now. And the freedom you've been searching for your entire life was never in another world, another time, another version of you. It was always here. Hidden in plain sight. Waiting for you to stop looking and start seeing. Waiting for you to realize that what you are looking for is what is doing the looking. We've covered a lot of ground together. The matrix of conditioned perception. The trap of the red pill. The nature of the ego. The compassion of the bodhisattva. The middle way of seeing clearly. And the truth of emptiness, that there is no separate self to free. Now we arrive at the end of our journey. But the end is really just the beginning. Because none of what we've discussed matters unless it lives in your actual experience. Unless it changes how you walk through your ordinary day. Let me tell you one more story. A true story about a monk who lived hundreds of years ago in Japan. His name was Ryokan, and he was known for his simple wisdom and his playful spirit. He lived in a small hut at the base of a mountain. He owned almost nothing. A robe, a bowl, a meditation cushion. Children from the village would come to visit him, and he would play with them like a child himself. He was utterly free. One night, a thief broke into Ryokan's hut. He searched everywhere but found nothing worth stealing. Ryokan sat quietly, watching the thief rummage through his empty space. When the thief finally gave up and turned to leave, Ryokan said, "You came all this way to visit me. I would hate for you to return empty-handed. Please, take my robe as a gift." The thief was stunned. He took the robe and disappeared into the night. After the thief left, Ryokan sat naked under the stars. He watched the moon rise over the mountain, and he said to himself, "Poor man. I wish I could have given him this beautiful moon." This is the awakened heart. Not renouncing the world in anger. Not grasping at the world in fear. Just living simply, openly, generously. Seeing the beauty that is always available. Wishing everyone could see it too. Not because you're better than them. Because you recognize yourself in them. Ryokan didn't need to take a red pill. He didn't need to escape to a monastery. He didn't need to become powerful or special. He just needed to see clearly. And in that seeing, he found a freedom that no thief could steal and no circumstance could touch. This is available to you too. Not by becoming someone else. Not by achieving some special state. Just by seeing what's already here. Just by noticing the programs and choosing not to be ruled by them. Just by recognizing that the one who feels trapped is just another thought, and thoughts come and go like clouds. The Matrix movies end with Neo giving a speech. He says he's going to show people a world without rules, without controls, without boundaries. A world where anything is possible. It's a beautiful speech, and it's exactly what we all want to hear. But the truth is quieter. The world without rules was always here. The boundaries were never real. The controls only existed in your mind. You don't need to show people a new world. You just need to help them see this one clearly. The door the oracle spoke about. The one that can only be opened from the inside. It was never at the end of a long journey. It was always right where you're standing. The only question is whether you're willing to see it. So here we are at the end of our time together. But our real work is just beginning. The work of paying attention. The work of noticing the programs. The work of seeing through the illusion of separation. The work of returning, again and again, with love. I want to leave you with a simple practice. Something you can do every day for the rest of your life. Several times a day, just stop. Stop whatever you're doing. Take one breath. And ask yourself, what am I not seeing right now? Not in some mystical, cosmic sense. Just in this moment. What am I not seeing because I'm too busy thinking? What am I not feeling because I'm too busy reacting? What am I not noticing because I'm too busy wanting things to be different? This simple pause, this moment of questioning, is like a tiny crack in the matrix. And cracks let in light. And light reveals what was always there. You are not your thoughts. You are not your feelings. You are not your job, your relationships, your successes, your failures. You are the awareness in which all of these appear and disappear. You are the sky, not the clouds. You are the screen, not the movie. You are what you've been looking for your entire life. The Buddha didn't become a god. He became awake. And awakening is not about acquiring something new. It's about recognizing what was always true. The cage was made of belief. And beliefs can be seen through. The prison was made of thought. And thoughts can be released. The seeker was just another character in the dream. And when the seeker dissolves, what remains? What remains is this. This moment. This breath. This aliveness. This love. This awareness that has been here all along, watching everything change, never changing itself. Welcome home. Thank you for walking this path with me. If this journey has meant something to you, if something here has shifted or opened, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you want to continue exploring these teachings together, hit subscribe. We'll be here, waiting, exploring the next teaching, the next story, the next moment of awakening. Until then, just keep breathing. Keep noticing. Keep being awake. We've covered a lot of ground together. The matrix of conditioned perception. The trap of the red pill. The nature of the ego. The compassion of the bodhisattva. The middle way of seeing clearly. And the truth of emptiness, that there is no separate self to free. Now we arrive at the end. But the end is really just the beginning. Because none of what we've discussed matters unless it lives in your actual experience. Unless it changes how you walk through your ordinary day. Let me tell you one more story. A true story about a monk who lived hundreds of years ago in Japan. His name was Ryokan, and he was known for his simple wisdom and playful spirit. He lived in a small hut at the base of a mountain. He owned almost nothing. A robe, a bowl, a meditation cushion. Children from the village would come to visit him, and he would play with them like a child himself. He was utterly free. One night, a thief broke into Ryokan's hut. He searched everywhere but found nothing worth stealing. Ryokan sat quietly, watching the thief rummage through his empty space. When the thief finally gave up and turned to leave, Ryokan said, "You came all this way to visit me. I would hate for you to return empty-handed. Please, take my robe as a gift." The thief was stunned. He took the robe and disappeared into the night. After the thief left, Ryokan sat naked under the stars. He watched the moon rise over the mountain, and he said to himself, "Poor man. I wish I could have given him this beautiful moon." This is the awakened heart. Not renouncing the world in anger. Not grasping at the world in fear. Just living simply, openly, generously. Seeing the beauty that is always available. Wishing everyone could see it too. Not because you're better than them. Because you recognize yourself in them. Ryokan didn't need to take a red pill. He didn't need to escape to a monastery. He didn't need to become powerful or special. He just needed to see clearly. And in that seeing, he found a freedom that no thief could steal and no circumstance could touch. This is available to you too. Not by becoming someone else. Not by achieving some special state. Just by seeing what's already here. Just by noticing the programs and choosing not to be ruled by them. Just by recognizing that the one who feels trapped is just another thought, and thoughts come and go like clouds. The Matrix movies end with Neo giving a speech. He says he's going to show people a world without rules, without controls, without boundaries. A world where anything is possible. It's a beautiful speech, and it's exactly what we all want to hear. But the truth is quieter. The world without rules was always here. The boundaries were never real. The controls only existed in your mind. You don't need to show people a new world. You just need to help them see this one clearly. The door the oracle spoke about. The one that can only be opened from the inside. It was never at the end of a long journey. It was always right where you're standing. The only question is whether you're willing to see it. So here we are at the end of our time together. But our real work is just beginning. The work of paying attention. The work of noticing the programs. The work of seeing through the illusion of separation. The work of returning, again and again, with love. I want to leave you with a simple practice. Something you can do every day for the rest of your life. Several times a day, just stop. Stop whatever you're doing. Take one breath. And ask yourself, what am I not seeing right now? Not in some mystical, cosmic sense. Just in this moment. What am I not seeing because I'm too busy thinking? What am I not feeling because I'm too busy reacting? What am I not noticing because I'm too busy wanting things to be different? This simple pause, this moment of questioning, is like a tiny crack in the matrix. And cracks let in light. And light reveals what was always there. You are not your thoughts. You are not your feelings. You are not your job, your relationships, your successes, your failures. You are the awareness in which all of these appear and disappear. You are the sky, not the clouds. You are the screen, not the movie. You are what you've been looking for your entire life. The Buddha didn't become a god. he became awake. And awakening is not about acquiring something new. It's about recognizing what was always true. The cage was made of belief. And beliefs can be seen through. The prison was made of thought. And thoughts can be released. The seeker was just another character in the dream. And when the seeker dissolves, what remains? What remains is this. This moment. This breath. This aliveness. This love. This awareness that has been here all along, watching everything change, never changing itself. Welcome home. Thank you for walking this path with me. If this journey has meant something to you, if something here has shifted or opened, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you want to continue exploring these teachings together, hit subscribe. We'll be here, waiting, exploring the next teaching, the next story, the next moment of awakening. Until then, just keep breathing. Keep noticing. Keep being awake. See you in the next one.